This is Michael Lane with Gearbox Solutions. I would love to talk to you all today briefly about email. We've been sending email for a long time, and you may be surprised to know that it's been around since 1971. This isn't a history lesson on email, but I do want to point out the REST APIs that have been around since 2006. And many companies are still using SMTP to send mail. And within the Claris FileMaker world, an email from that system may just consist of a script to open your email client of choice and populate the recipient, a subject, and maybe an attachment. While SMTP works, or when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, the hurdles of troubleshooting can be daunting. SMTP is a protocol that has as I said, been around for quite a while. One example of software that uses it is SendMail. SendMail is something that there was a time when over 80% of email servers were running SendMail. These days, that is not really the case at all. We are big fans of REST APIs, and when it comes to email, it's something that we have now done as the norm for projects for at least the last 5, 6, 7 years. It goes over at HTTP, so it's something that doesn't have to, something that can work with normal web traffic, if you will. It's flexible, it's scalable, and it's stateless. I'm going to throw some examples of some code from typical PHP app using SendMail. And we're also going to give you an example of something that uses basically the same functionality, but using an SMTP server. So it's pretty straightforward. And as I said, when it works, it's great. When it doesn't, it's really hard to troubleshoot. Also, until recently, a lot of people manage their own mail servers. And with the approach of using a RESTful API, that's something that you use as a service. So there are lots and lots of companies these days that do that. Moving from maybe a web-based solution with Claris FileMaker, you may see a dialog like this, where you can send via email client, and then you can use, you can either type in some fields, or you can of course use the calculation engine within FileMaker. If you're going to use some SMTP options, you're going to have to populate this. Then you're going to have to make sure that you know the right servers, and also they're all slightly different when it comes to ports and the type of encryption and the type of security and authentication. So that's just a hurdle that you do have to manage in your organization. Getting away from this conventional email method, there are now lots of services that do this. There are a few examples on the screen there. We have done integration with most of them. Certainly MailChimp, which has a transactional email service called Mandrill, and then Postmark, Mailjet, and SparkPost. The others are quite popular, but we have not implemented them for any clients. So in using these services, here's another example of how you would do this in say a PHP app, and this is not going to be vastly different if you're talking about Java or Ruby or JavaScript. You're going to have, you're going to build out your message. You're going to call the Mailjet, in this case, API, and post your message. Some of the benefits is, and this is an example, this is an example of using FileMaker. So in FileMaker, we can use the same thing. We can set some information, we set a variable, and we use the very popular script that basically everything like this runs through, which is the insert from URL. So we set some curl options, we gather our data, and we send that email transaction. Some of the benefits of this are that it's secure. You use API keys that you can usually manage and control. You can update them if you would like. You can also generate different keys for different, maybe different departments or different clients. Modern standards such as JSON for the response is nice. You get built-in tracking, bounce rates, and detailed success or error information in response to that. I also want to point out that there are a couple screenshots here. This is in a FileMaker solution where we've got a message queue. So every message that gets sent out of the system goes into this queue. It can either be sent immediately or it can be sent at a certain time, say by a server-side script. And then when you send these messages, we are going to get a response back from the service, which we then log. So we've got detailed information about whether or not the transaction was successful. And it's nice to go back and look, and if someone did have a problem, you can go back and see the results of that. So even beyond these types of services, email is something that is going through a bit of a change these days. There are new email services such as Hey from the makers of Basecamp. They're starting to breathe new life into new ways we even think about email. If we at Gearbox can help you either with your current email struggles or maybe a new project where you know you're going to want to send notifications out to customers, to partners, to employees, we would love to chat with you. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.